Well, we've got some testing and some work to do today. As we begin, we are jumping in with Coach Sony Fotu as he returns to college football. This time, we're doing a big old test of how these off seasons are really supposed to work, how we're going to best manage our NIL, what money we got to work with, how much we could spend in season, everything that we need to know so that way we have some better off seasons to come, as we've had some mixed results in our first two off seasons of college football 27. The first with our Sac State series went very well, and then with our UAB series, we missed out on a lot of guys using the same game plan. So we're going to see if we were doing things right, doing things wrong, where we can improve, and really where this money goes and where we see that money change. So already, we are using San Jose State, mind you, so a similar budget to what we're using with our Sac State and with our UAB series. A small school trying to build up. How possible is it with the new systems? Well, we're going to start off right away here. National championship winner is Ohio State. But we got to start reviewing things for the next season, and we do have a fresh allotment of points when we get to the end of the year. So that is really important to note because, frankly, I was under the impression that the money that we could spend on all of our recruiting in season and in the transfer portal in the off season was the same budget. But we just got a lot more money here. So that tells me that I need to change my approach to that, which is already great news. And already some great news here with this roster. No one is looking for money. Now, obviously, we could look to pay some people if we want to keep them around. How big of a need is that? Well, we could kind of go position by position here. Looks like we are going to keep these guys around. Running back could look to see some turnover. We could give these guys just, a little bit of some money, try to keep them around. Or you could look to be cheap here. I'm using the same settings that we did for our last UAB series in terms of 25 players could look to leave your school. And that is based off of the average amount of transfers over the last 5 years in real life for players leaving school. So want to make sure we had that out of the box. I think it's set at 20. So we moved that up to 25. Now, again, we're talking about we could actually look to spend a little bit more money here than I initially was thinking. Would it be worth paying all of these running backs to return as seniors? Probably not so the case. In fact, I would say probably for Tyler Jacklich, we could probably not pay him. He's a normal dev. He may not really develop that much, but we could look to pay Isaiah Carlson because he actually has that impact dev trait. So that's what we're going to look to do out the gate. I don't really think we need the full back around. Looks like we already are paying this receiver here. We could try to keep him around. Impact dev there. Might need to do the same here for Malachi Riley. Though there is a lot of depth on this roster, which is good to see. Normal dev for Eli Barber. You could leave normal and normal for the guys at the bottom. So yeah, kind of already out the gate. I would say that's a good thing to just keep an eye on. Don't overpay for bad players. You have a lot of tight ends potentially looking to leave. None of them are anything higher than a normal dev. May look to try to pay Ep Smith just to try to keep a starter around. Probably go ahead and skip out then on Colbert. He might look to leave if we look to pay Gilchrist. Yeah, it is a little bit different. I'd say dev trait isn't the it's not the defining for sure. I mean, obviously caps are going to have a little bit more sway, but when you got a bunch of seniors, I'm going to look for someone who's going to get the most, that we're going to get the most out of. Someone who doesn't develop much for someone who may develop a lot more. I'd be more willing to pay that. Do need some starters though on the offensive line. We'll pay the big boys. At least these two. Not going to pay Jimmy. He's a 61 overall. I like this guy, though. Brian Tapu. He's impact dev, doesn't want money. My favorite kind of guy. Normal dev, impact dev here. You can maybe offer him up 5. Overall, though, I'm liking the build here for the San Jose State team here. They're not money hungry. Would like to keep Sims around, so we'll make sure we pay him a little bit. I know we already needed a couple defensive tackles, so I'm going to favor maybe paying these guys a little bit. How do you know if you don't look, they could be a great dev trait? But all the captains. Yeah, it's good note. Good note. Definitely something to do for sure. We're also just trying to cover some ground, so going to skip around on some things. But again, even with that higher dev trait, it's going to be better if they're junior, looking to go into their final season. At least based off the experience I've seen. Not a great-looking Mike linebacking group. No one has any traits either. I also look at the physical abilities, too. If they have some good abilities, we may look to keep them around. Star dev trait here. Look to pay him a little bit. See if we could keep Crawford around. Multiple kicker. Why do we got 2 senior kickers? We'll say some of the rosters are a little bit interesting at the start. I've seen a lot of running backs who probably were high school quarterbacks. So check your depth charts for sure. Facility upgrades we have not done much with, but we are already sitting here at a competitive facility. I think that's good for now. We're going to look to save this money to work a bit more in the portal. And then we'll check in with the facilities later on. Ultimately, I do want this to be a bit of a portal program build. So with that, we're looking to keep our staff around 15%. We are nearly double that. Facilities at 5%. We're sitting at 2. And then NIL recruits suggested 30. We're only at 16, so we could definitely improve there. Roster NIL, we could look to spend more there with a suggested 30. We're sitting at 9. Luckily, most of the players didn't care to really be paid, which is good news for us because I want to replace those guys with guys that we do need to pay. But the plan today is kind of see how much we actually need to pay those guys to get them to show up versus how much we could kind of get away with. We're trying to min-max. That's the testing we're doing today. Min-maxing what we're able to do with this money. Because it's something new here. You know, again, as mentioned, we're only going through a couple off seasons, so we're learning a little bit as we go. Always up for your guys' input as well, for sure. That's why we do all the off-season streams, so that way you guys can actually leave your inputs. As for guys who are looking to leave, there's still a good chunk. 2 persuasion chances. We could look to keep around a gadget receiver. Very high, extremely high here if we want to keep around a kicker. He's transferring because of NIL. All in all, though, I don't think it's too bad. 2 guys to persuade to try to actually keep him around, so we'll just go ahead and do those. Everyone else extremely low, which is basically they're not going to. We actually failed that one. The kicker doesn't want to return. All right, then. Good news, we had 2 with extremely high. That's a bit of a surprise. Tony Fotu couldn't keep around his dual kicker game. We're looking to get to the meat and potatoes. We're going to jump through. In fact, I'll probably have the CPU just handle the in-season, and we'll just strictly stick to off-season moves in this one. Especially now that we already saw that our budget is different in season versus when we do get to the off season. That was something I wasn't sure about. Any surprise draft results here for us? No. We're sitting at about a 1.5 star though, but this is where the real meat and potatoes begins. What are we able to do? Now, I did test out some things before we jumped in when it came to recruiting, and it was kind of along the same steps that we've shifted our recruiting for both UAB and Sac State to be focused on a smaller group but going hard after these guys. So we actually brought in some pretty promising 3-stars, while I was still looking at a few other players. Ultimately, we didn't end up climbing up too high for some of these, so I think for some of them, we will go ahead and look to drop them off. We would have to kind of cover a lot of ground. So for someone maybe like Riggins, we could look to go after him, but again, we're going to focus more so on the transfers at this point, taking the guys that we should already have coming in. And we have about just under 1,200 in terms of our NIL to deal with. So I'm just going to give these guys just a little something, just in case these other schools also want to give a little something. We're focusing in on this transfer portal. How much do we have to pay versus how much do we not really have to pay? Going position by position, what we need is a quarterback, several running backs, as a lot of our guys left. Few receivers, tight end, offensive line always big. Pretty much need to rebuild the defensive line. Some linebackers, corner. I mean, we got to do a lot. So how much can we do? We have 35 players max we could bring in, and just shy of 1,200 NIL to deal with. So already I would be thinking, who's interested by chance at quarterback? Try to save ourselves a little bit here. There is a 3-star quarterback from Fresno State, so wouldn't have to transfer far. Jonathan Kraft. Didn't look like he played last year, so could be just an actual freshman. One thing to note, they did change how they start their transfer players. So you might see a 4 or 5-star freshman, but that player may come in at only about a 70, 71, 72 overall, versus there might be a junior or senior 2-star, but that player might come in closer to an 80+ overall because they're already fully maxed out. They're not going to progress anymore. So the transfer ratings favor the potential more so than the current. So that is something to keep in mind when you guys are looking to build. You don't have to go after just those 3, 4, 5 stars. 2 stars can very much be playable, especially some stopgap, some bridge type players as you develop your rosters. So do keep that in mind. So a 3-star freshman might be all right, but I would favor probably more so of like a 3-star junior or senior. So someone like Button would be coming in as that junior. Potential freshman or sophomore with Quinn Murphy. As for those with interest, it looks like just freshmen. So starting off the bat here, did any of these guys play? No, you got to pay 5 here, pay 5. So pretty cheap for these quarterbacks. Again, wouldn't mind trying to bring in at least one. I'm going to go more so with that dual threat. Put him on the board. You need some running backs. You're going to favor, when you're trying to help yourselves out, no running backs actually interested in coming here. Keep in mind your pipeline, and then also keep in mind how many offers have been given. You could try to steal some guys later on, as long, again, as no one has offered. You just have to be at the top of their board. You don't actually have to have them all the way up. Roderick Robinson, I actually know, is a pretty decent running back. We'd have him in that UAB series. Again, he would be a senior, so these 2-star seniors can actually be pretty good here for you. Again, I know what we're looking at for him, so we will put him on the board. Junior here, Mitchell, backfield creator, didn't seem to play much last year. Might look to favor ranking and then look more so at the pipeline and offers. Freshman 4-star, again, could be good. Now, he looks like he actually did play a little bit, so he may not be redshirted, so he may come in actually as a junior. Again, 4-star freshman, could be a lower overall. Javian Osborne, because he has that room to progress. A junior here, Dylan Jones. No offers, LSU. He's looking, though, for 210. So, again, could we budget that with all the other positions we need? think I'd look for someone potentially a little bit cheaper, somewhere along this lines. Kobe Martin, looking at about 100 for his NIL. Would be a junior. Played a little bit last year, not a whole lot. No offers in. That seems like a smarter target for us. Be a freshman or sophomore here in... Well, he actually played a good amount, so he would definitely be a sophomore. But he played fairly decently. Again, I'm kind of structuring this almost a little bit more so like tiering off your guys, right? So with the running backs, have a high school guy that we're looking to bring in. But then you have your number one guy that you'd be willing to pay maybe a little bit more for. So Martin is actually asking for a little bit more money. I just know that Robinson is going to be closer to around an 80 overall. Martin going to be that junior. He could potentially be pretty decent, you know, a sophomore there. So you're just going to look for guys to have that little breakdown, right? You're going to have your high-end guy that you're going to look to spend more money at, but you're going to have to probably throw a lot more his way. You might be able to throw a little bit less towards some of these other guys and potentially even less money, especially if no one is looking at them in the last couple weeks. One thing I did find that worked out very well is to not give those scholarship offers until you're inside the top 5, because sometimes that can turn directly into a verbal or a hard command. So we're going to look at these 4 running backs out the gate. And we have a lot of guys we have to try to bring in, unfortunately. I'm trying to focus a little bit on some pipelines. At this point, these guys shouldn't have any offers. So it might even be a little bit more helpful to look strictly at your pipelines and try to find guys that fit more so of what you're looking for. I also do very much recommend that you try to bring in recruits based off of the actual schemes that you're running and the matches to those schemes. Of course, we've had plenty of videos over the last about year or so breaking down each of those schemes. Feel free to check those out on the channel if you are new. But you got a senior here in Jaquan Smith. He's not looking for any money, already is interested, and is a pipeline guy. Sounds pretty good to me. Again, 2-star seniors could be better than even 4 or 5 stars of freshmen and sophomores. Junior here, elusive route runner, not looking for money, does have interest, or is from a pipeline, not necessarily interested, but again, could be a good start for us. Similarly for tight end, I wouldn't mind looking for a junior here. Cheap deal. For certain positions, you can definitely get away with paying a bit less. I've seen a lot more options for cheaper players on the offensive line at tight end, but you're going to pay a lot when it comes to receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, corners are going to be paid a lot for sure. Haven't noticed as many DBs asking for as much money. We can try to keep our own player around. Alex Bradley wanted to leave. Again, freshman, 2-star, probably not as good. If he was a senior or a junior, maybe. Couple juniors here, Fresno State and Oregon State. Senior, agile, and McCrimmon. I also like checking out these stats too. Allowed 9 sacks, not great. 12 pancakes, so he's not a dozer by any means. 3-star here from at least bottom tier pipeline. Would be a freshman or sophomore. Not a bad option. Junior, didn't play. Another freshman here. Raw strength. A little bit of some variety. Senior, agile. Did give up quite a lot of sacks, though, with 11. I also like checking out the stats, too, to just help dictate what we're looking for here. And this is more intriguing. They played nearly half the downs, but still gave up about half the sacks. That'd be someone worth taking just a look at. We are outside of, obviously, our pipeline now. Move over to guard. Also a note, that when you are in your off-season recruiting, we're looking at trying to fill out a roster for sure, but really dial in your starters, pay them, and then look to fill in from the rest. That's another thing that I learned from the last off-season we did with UAB for sure, because we tried to maybe do a little bit too much with too little. We should have found a nice soft spot, though I will say, if you guys did not watch yesterday as we opened up the season, bit of a surprise. Just as Jackson Brown here, a 2-star senior transfer, raw strength, he played over 1,000 downs. He only gave up 1 sack. Only 1 pancake, so he may not be a dominant run blocker. That looked pretty good to me. No sacks given up here for Jackson Dunn. I'm trying to complete a group here. You do have Tyson Ruffins, a transfer senior who's asking for $260 for that NIL. That's a little bit pricey. You will see some who are going to ask quite a bit. They're typically some of the guys at the very top in terms of overalls, which is almost a little bit of a giveaway too of what their overalls are. They're asking for a lot of money. Typically, they're going to be on the better side. Right now, I'm looking for around 2-star juniors, seniors. We're looking at the classes. Not a whole lot showing up here. We'll move over to center. And we're kind of just taking a chill approach to this today, just testing out some things. Not a bad looking guy here, Jimmy Liston, senior. Played about 750, only gave up 3, 1 pancake. We need a little bit more help completing the offensive line, so wouldn't be against adding a couple centers. One of them can play at a guard spot too. That's the offense done, and we only have 15 spots available. We need 5, 9, 10, 14. Looking closer to 19 more players on the defensive side, so we're not going to be able to fill out a full class here. So might need to be a little bit more picky in some of these spots. Looking at edge. Pure power, no thank you. When you're looking at your edge players who are actually playing edge, speed rusher first, power rusher second. The other guys, I just don't feel like they do much. Couple 3-star freshmen, pure power. Speed rusher here, Brian Townsend. San Diego State is a pipeline. Could be easier for us to bring him in. 2-star junior. Did he play much? He had 3 sacks, started in 11 games. You know, he did a little bit. Senior who did not see a whole lot of playing time. We are pretty full, though, on the board, so we'll move over to defensive tackle. I've also noticed when you are looking at edge, you may find some guys who actually have some decent size. I'm talking about 270 plus, 275 plus, who could play a little bit of like a 3-tech. So Joe Asayan from Stanford, which is funny enough because we got a guy from Stanford in Staples, similar size, and he's playing both inside and outside in that UAB series. So do keep an eye on that. That is a little bit more okay if they're going to be like a pure power or a edge setter, which edge setters are gap specialists. Pure powers are pure powers, same as the DTs. So they could transfer inside cleaner. So do keep that in mind if you're having a hard time finding some guys to put it in the middle. Do have a senior pure power guy here. Didn't really rack up a lot, but when you're looking at pure powers, those are typically your nose tackles. And essentially with nose tackles, you're not looking for them to be the ones making the tackles. You're looking for them to be the ones who are clogging up running lanes and opening things up for your linebackers to make those tackles or to blitz cleaner. Trace Scott is a very small defensive tackle at 250. I don't know about that. Your power guy here could use another guy. He's another senior as well from Cincinnati. And don't be afraid of 2 stars for juniors and seniors, especially for seniors. Wouldn't mind a little bit of some variety. Trying to find someone who can maybe rush the passer a little bit. 7 sacks here for Isaiah Shirley. 11 TFLs. Fits the body type a little bit more of a 3-tech. Like that look. Probably not going to look to bring in 6 linebackers here, but definitely bring in at least 4. Freshman here didn't play last year, but a lurker is in our pipeline at least. I'll put him on the board. A little bit of some variety in there. Junior 3-star, another lurker, 4 pass deflections, a couple sacks in there. Not too bad for a lurker. Lurkers typically don't have the best blitzing. Freshman 3-star, again, going to be a little bit up and down. I would trust a 2-star junior or senior more. A lot of lurkers here. Not a whole lot from our pipeline. Check out Mike linebacker as well. 3-star junior, another lurker. Didn't seem to play, but USC gold star or gold pipeline. Got a senior here, Thumper. That guy is someone who could look to blitz a little bit, be a little bit more of a run stopper. With his would look to be not a full-time starter. Not too bad, NDSU. And how many? We've got plenty of linebackers here. We got 5 more spots remaining. Definitely need to focus on the defensive backs. And for some reason, this seems to be the hardest group to recruit. Probably because it's one of the largest groups in terms of players who are actually out on that field. So you do have a junior here, Ahmad Chapman. Good pipeline for us. A couple picks last year. Did deflect some. Wish we had a stat like catches given up, yards given up. Would be nice. Does have interest in us. We'll put him on the board. You got a senior here. 2-star. Played a little bit last year with Tulane. Couple 3-stars. Didn't seem to play much. Always do like taking a look again at these stats, seeing if there's someone who's hit the board who had a lot of picks in the previous year. We've had a lot of success with that. 4-star junior, gold. I mean, we would have to pay him a good chunk, but we've been pretty light. So there's a couple guys that I think it would be worth us potentially paying a good chunk to. And I think that might be at corner. 2 more spots available. Let's find a couple safeties. Always prefer more of the cover specialists, personally. Does kind of depend on what defense you are running. You have a fair number of interceptions here from a box specialist. Bit of a surprise, honestly. Coverage specialist, 2-star senior junior. That's someone I would want to put on the board. Got a 3-star freshman. Did play a little bit last year. Looks to be intriguing in Matt Harper Johnston. And he's cheap. Okay. Now, obviously, one thing that we're going to be doing here is not scouting any of these guys. We have to save as many points as we can. We only have 465 hours to work with here as we are giving a total of 10 to some high school players. I normally prefer to try to find a baseline out the gate here. So let me break out my calculator. And we've got 7 from the top, so 28 players. So 465, divide that by our 28 of the allotment. Everyone can get at least 15 points. A few players could get a little bit more. And in week 1, we're essentially just trying to introduce ourselves and see which of this bunch we actually have a shot at bringing in. That's kind of always been the way I found the most success, because I would hate to have a situation, and I've had it before, where, you know, you really dial in on a smaller group of players, give them a lot, and still no interest. And then at that point, you never open the door with a lot of other players. So week 1 is really about just introducing yourself, gauging interest. Week 2, you start to make a little bit of some hard decisions, taking some guys off your board. Maybe there was one guy at one position that you really wanted to bring in, but you just really weren't able to. Then week 3, you're making those hard decisions. You're taking guys off the board. You're really dialing things in. And then week 4 is your last chance to take off anything that you feel could be wasted points if you know for sure you're not going to get them. And then with those new points you got, you go after everyone that matches what you're looking for, who does not have offers. And that is both for high school and for the transfer portal, because all you have to be is at the top of their board. And frankly, don't even have to be at the very top. If you're the only one who gives them an offer, but you do enough to convince them to actually come play, then you're going to get them. They may come in as a late addition when you kind of get more to that quote unquote springtime, that late spring transfer window. Think of like Bear Bachmeier when he started with Stanford, was there for the spring, and then immediately transferred to BYU and was their starter as a true freshman. Actually had a fairly decent season for what I remember. I think he even convinced his brother to transfer with him in Tiger. Fun fact for you, Tiger and Bear Bachmeier have another brother. His name is Hank. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I'd be happy or upset if I was Hank and my brother's names were Bear and Tiger. I guess if it's Hank the Lion, then maybe you got something to work with there. But we've almost given everyone at least their 15 points, and then we're going to dial things in a bit more with the remaining 45 points we have. Now, we know that it is much harder to get in these DBs. So for Marcellus Williams and O'Connor, we're going to go 25 apiece, because these are also the guys that are asking for a lot more money, which tells me that they probably are going to have a little bit more in terms of other teams being interested. Outside of that, I'm going to look back towards the quarterback spot, Jonathan Kraft. Although he's not asking for really that much money. Instead, we may shift some more points to Kobe Martin, because he wants 105 for his NIL. All in all, I think we did a pretty good job of managing the NIL, actually finding a lot of players who didn't really care to get that much. We actually found quite a lot of players who didn't care as much. For the freshman 3-star safety here, we'll go with 25, because the youth, I would imagine more teams would be interested. And then I know we're going to need a defensive tackle, or at least some guys for the defensive line in general. I want to see who's the highest we've got here in their national ranking. That would be Brian Townsend. So we actually only have 5 hours, so we can't even give him those 5. Well, then in that case, let's bump the points even more so for Ethan O'Connor. Give him 30. And that's going to be, again, our introduction. That's all week 1 is, and then it's going to get faster from there, especially if you are taking a lot more guys off the board, narrowing down that money. Because as you see here, a lot of guys are going to drop off your board. That's the hard part, being that small school. Just one bigger name school jumps in, and there it all goes. Memphis actually making a push here for both of these players? Kidding me? Memphis, get out of here. We did make a good jump here for Jonathan Kraft. I feel like if we reallocate some more points his way, we should be looking pretty good. No movement at all on Kobe Martin. Nor Jammer Rice? I feel like that's got to be wrong. Is it Jammer Rice? Aquan Smith, we do jump up to the top here. No one else seems to be interested. We'll shave a little bit off the top. Again, you don't have to max these guys out. You just have to be the highest one on their board. For Mason Mini, we'll minimize that offer. Get some more points back here. Good jump. Oh, no, that's already Mini. We saw that. Miller, another good jump here. No one else is really going after that. Which is another thing I see more often for juniors and seniors, a little bit less competition, which fine by me. Yes, I did turn on that music. Got to make sure I turn on the background music here and just leave you guys hanging. Looking pretty good for this offensive line. It's a little bit more hodgepodgey than how I build in my played dynasties, where I definitely focus a bit more on certain archetypes, especially ones fitted towards what I'm playing with. But we're not playing with them. We're just focusing on the off-season recruiting, testing out some things, so it's all fine by me. Really good for the trenches. That's a pretty big surprise. Normally, it's not as easy. Definitely did not go well, though, for the linebacking group. So we're going to have to go back to the drawing board with the linebackers. One man with interest. I appreciate that. Donovan Woolen moves us up to that top spot. Top spot as well for Chapman. I'm going to keep the 15 on there. Same for Stevenson. And yeah, we're definitely out on these top cornerback options. Just had to try to introduce ourselves, see what happened there. Not quite high enough for Harper. But we are not inside the top 5 yet. We're going to give him that extra 5, or extra 10, I should say. Go back up to our quarterback here, because I feel like we could be in this. We just have to be a bit more aggressive. And we have some pretty good pitches, too, as we are inside the top 5. Great news for us. Get that set up. Offer up some money. And this time, we're actually going to overpay a little bit to try to help make up that ground. And we've got the money to work with, so this time we're actually trying to make sure we take advantage of that. Do we have anyone else inside the top 5 offensively? No. And I'm not sure scheduling a visit here would get what I'm looking for. But we will go ahead and put him on a visit nonetheless. And we'll do proximity to home. Now if we go check with that running back. Yeah. No complimentary with a running back and the quarterback. Do want to try to keep ourselves in front here, though, for these high school guys. And hopefully after this next week, Memphis just drops off. All right, so bigger push here for the quarterback. We gave him the offer. We're paying him a little bit more, and we got the visit scheduled. Moving up there. We did not move up for Kobe Martin. Not a great set of pitches there either. We do have a good chunk of points right now. So let's offer up the 50. Again, waiting for to put in that offer either for the final week or when we get inside the top 5. Loco, how you doing, bud? I have the best O-line and D-line in the country starting year 4 with Arizona State. Top 3 receiving group, but everything else is mid to weak. As long as you got a good line, you could cover a lot of your problems. And a quarterback that could run around a little bit. Defensively, though, how are you looking defensively? You said your D-line is great, but what about the rest? Absolute trash? I know I've had a hard time getting some corners and linebackers to commit. We're seeing that yet again here. All right, so I'm back at the top here. Putting in more points for Martin. Wilder looks like we're going to need some more points there as well. Again, almost all of our running backs left. Don't have great pitches either. There's Saldate? Saldate? Again, there's so many different ways you could pronounce these names. All based off of what cultural background they come from. Need to do more here with Townsend. The freshman speed rusher. Decent pitches there, which is good news. When we get to that top 5, we could actually go with a soft sell to hard sell, depending on where we're at. And we increase the points for Harper. In fact, I think we're going to increase that even more. We're going to go with a straight 50. And then we need to go look for perhaps another corner or so. We got 45 points. And again, at this point, going to favor those who just don't have an offer. If they're in a pipeline, great. If not, that's all right. Could be expensive here, but a junior transfer from the Raging Cajuns. 4-star junior, though, means that he could be really good. We'll put him on the board. We'll see what the other options may be. You could save some money and go with O.J. Frederick Jr. Miami. I feel like that could be potentially better. He's a senior too. Senior 4-star. Which means he's definitely a very highly rated corner. Got a couple more seniors here. We tried to get Brandon Nicholson in that last offseason, and he left us high and dry. Linebackers are mid, but it's a lot of depth. Yeah, I got the opposite. I've got no depth at linebackers, but some good starters. At least they play well. DBs are decent. Not a game changer, though. Have 3 senior defensive tackles and 2 elite freshman speed rushers. That's a good build. Again, I've been focusing a bit more on the seniors as we are trying to develop some of that depth. And they play behind the DTs. Play off the... Okay. A lot more stunts. Yeah, I haven't ran much stunts this year. Something I need to get back to. We're getting back into the shells as well, too. All right, did add a couple different cornerbacks here. Again, since we're holding some of those points for later, in terms of giving them those offers. I wish there was a 20 we could get to straight up. Fortunately not. So in that case, we will favor Brent Gordon a little bit more. We'll see how these are looking after this next week, because normally right after I give them the offers or start showing interest, other schools jump in. But right now we have a pretty good board. Again, we're narrowing things down throughout the first, well, really the second and the third week, and then we try to load up the board in that final week with just guys who haven't gotten offers from anybody. 91, 90, and 89 are all the DT's ratings. That's Bobby Ellington's dream right there. Are you running a 335 or a 326? Because that's what I'm looking to get our UAB series to eventually. This big old hog maulers up front. One guy with a little bit more speed to play that right edge, and then have our thumper linebacker on the other side. Well, no one's committed yet. Not expecting them to. What are these seniors looking like? Not only is there more people pursuing, but now they're putting in visits. Get out of here with that. We're going to pull these guys off the board. Okay, so we do take a big jump, but we're not in front yet over Oregon State. So we're going to need a little bit more here. Max amount. Looking good here for Robinson. Again, we'll shave the points. We just have to be at the top. And again, we'll put in all offers. Big jump here. That's what I love to see. Not inside the top 5 yet. But we'll put in all offers for sure in the final week. If we're not inside the top 5 yet. Local playing that 425. Okay, so you're basically playing a 3-3-5. You just have your edges playing as that hybrid linebacker / edge rusher. Yeah. That's pretty much what we're doing with the UAB series. Good jump here. We're looking good for these running backs, which tells me, again, no one else is putting in the interest. We're going to shave those points a little bit, because I assume we'll probably need to reallocate. Elite Dev cornerbacks, red shirting. Got to make sure they don't want that playing time, right? Yeah, also the NIL. That's something to keep in mind, too. Where these guys start off, that's just the starting point and how much they're asking for NIL. They're going to ask for even more every single year. So that's another reason where maybe out the gate you might want to aim for guys that are asking for a little bit later, especially if they're going to be freshmen and sophomore and play for you for a couple of years. Keep the future budget in mind. Good jump there for Townsend, but we're not in the top spot yet. We'll keep the 25 going there. But as you guys can see here, I mean, my tactic going after more of these older guys really works because there's not as much of a push for them until a little bit later on. Keeping the corners full 25 or full 15. Yeah, just because I've struggled to actually get these guys to finally commit. Offer is coming in now here for Harper Johnston and Oregon State, so that might push what I'm looking to do perhaps a little bit earlier here. And in fact, let's even pay the man a little bit. Doesn't quite get us into the top 5 yet, so we can't switch over to that hard sell. Not enough either here with these other corners. Good pitches, though, for him. So let's look to max these guys out. We'll still have a little bit more pointage to use. So 15 more. We could look to add on someone. Excuse me. Need some edge rusher or some outside linebackers. Just linebackers in general. So again, focusing on guys who do not have offers. Although typically I find it's very hard to find linebackers after the first week or two who do not have offers. Just do this the easy way, right? So everyone at outside linebacker at least has an offer who's anything more than a 1-star. That's the same across the board. So we may just have to get a little bit. I'm looking at high school players. How often do we do that? The O-line and D-line and 3 receivers is where all my money is, and they'll all be graduating after this year. Again, yeah, that's kind of what you want. You want your big stack to be leaving at the end of the year. Helps you keep the roster developing. All right, linebackers. Try this again. Thought it was weird that it wasn't showing me any sort of stats. All right, Aiden Jones, no offer from Texas. Texas State, to be more specific. Thumper, I mean, almost at this point, beggars can't be choosers. We're going to need to add a few linebackers here just to try to introduce ourselves. And it's fine. Again, they're juniors and seniors. So we're going to give each of these guys 5 points. This is kind of the start for us in just trying to steal some guys late. All right, from there, we'll head into the final week. The good spread of allotment of points, really dialing in on some guys. We'll look to pay the NILs next time, give that final offer, and hopefully not have to make any sort of tough decisions. We did not get a top 100 class at National Signing Day. We're not there yet. That's something they need to fix. Also, who catch some of the preseason games? I haven't got to watch any of them yet. Probably catching with the highlights. Come on now, what? Playing time? Who's taking that away? This guy was already on our board. He's been committed since before we even looked at Jonathan Kraft. We're just not going to touch it. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. It works out. But we do need to start making sure we are giving offers. We do have the offer in there. That's great. Okay. So let's start putting in these offers. And we're going to look to pay. We're going to see where that puts us. Again, we could come back later and readjust these if we need to. Now, this is one. First off, we need to save a little bit of some points, too. I'm going to take the 5 off of here for Wilder. But this is one that we're going to test because, again, no one has shown interest in Kobe Martin. So we're going to offer the scholarship, but we're going to be pretty cheap with it. We're going to tell him you can come play for 50. Very disinterested. Yeah, but you either choose to come play football or you don't play football. That's essentially the options we're giving him. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. We've given some $5 bills and it's worked. We've also given some $5 bills and guys have chosen to just not play football. So do keep that a little bit in mind. But we need to clear a little bit of some points here so we could give these offers. Again, no one interested in Wilder here. So we may look to be, again, a little bit cheaper. I know Robinson's going to be around an 80, so I'm fine with paying him that 40. I know that. Switch this to 5. Again, give that offer. $0 is what I love to see. In fact, I'd even say some of our better players have been guys who've played on no money or $5. Now, of course, there's always a chance that someone's going to come in, put an offer in, and steal some of these guys late. It's just part of the process. That's why I miss in NCAA 14 days, where I actually showed you how much the point spread was between, we don't have to pay you, I'm not paying you, how much the point spread was between the winner of who got them and who didn't. I wish they brought that back. Or at least showed like the NIL they chose, something along those lines. Give us basically some feedback. Now, I will say this offseason definitely seemed a lot easier. Cross our fingers, knock on wood now. It seemed a lot easier compared to that UAB one we just had. That one was pretty tough. We didn't have a whole lot of options at a lot of positions. Now, I definitely feel like I could have managed the money a lot better. That's for sure. Save ourselves a little bit extra here because we don't have the option for the 20. Love all these players who just want to just play football. That's awesome. I do imagine, though, we're going to have to pay a pretty penny for these corners we were looking at. And if we're looking to steal anyone late. Oh, my bad, Mackenzie. I took all of your points away. We will at least do a little social media search or something? Is that what the 5 is? Like, how does that actually help in terms of recruiting? That one's just a little bit ridiculous. Review your offer. Isaiah Shirley. Getting to these linebackers as well. Must for us. We got to bring in some linebackers. We can't have another team that we build with just enough to start. I mean, that's really all we did with the UAB. We fielded a starting group, but we did not build that group whatsoever. Which means we got even more work to do in recruiting this next season. Oh. Already gave the offer there in front for Oregon State. Love to see it. They're very much not the top 5 too. So let's just help ourselves out a little bit here. That's a good pitch for us. All right, we are on top for these corners, but now it's time. We got to actually pay these guys. It's a 2-year situation for Brent Gordon, potentially. Playing style is going to be important for keeping him around. We are going to look to pay the man full price. Not at the top here, but we could help ourselves out. How much would we have to pay extra? That's a lot of extra to get him to a more favorable spot. We'll give him the offer because no one else has at the 250. Playing time is a problem here for Aiden Jones. And we do not have any extra here. So it's just, here's your offer. You could come play. Maybe to help us out here, we will give them $5. Give you an offer of, again, $5. Come play. We may need to shave some points if we're going to look elsewhere. Try to round out this group as much as we can. We're going to drop that to 25 because, again, no other offers are on the board for both these corners. And we're paying them full price. And that gives us 50 to work with to try to finish off this class. Make sure at least everyone here has the 5. We got 4 spots open, 45 points. What position groups have we not filled entirely? We're still pretty light at linebacker. We should be okay at running back. We may need some receivers. May need some safeties. Let's see what we got available then. Top guys on the board, starting at receiver. There is a 5-star player. You tell me there's a 5-star player who doesn't have an offer? Quincy Porter. Why don't you go from New Jersey to Notre Dame to San Jose State? You don't normally see 5-star guys. I've never seen 5-star guys with no offers. That's a massive surprise. Any more help at linebacker? No offer on the board here for Tylen Singleton. Put him on the board. I know we need some safety help. Got 2 more spots available. 3-star junior, Ko Patu. Hybrid type. There might be some better options here over at strong, in fact. Go with Riddle. And we need to drop that other safety. Sorry, Patu. So with our last spot here, we got 3 safeties. I know that's still pretty light. So let's look at actually how many guys we have at each spot. At quarterback, they're saying we need 2, but we got underclassmen there. Running back, we are looking to bring in a fair few. Looking to bring in 3. That will give us 4 on roster if we get all of them. Receivers, we do still have. Again, I'm assuming these seniors are already out the door. And it just never updated. So we still have 4 there. We're looking to bring in a few more. That would still be a healthy number. We may need to look at the offensive line for one final guy. Couple guys in for the defense. We'd only have 1 defensive tackle if we don't bring in these other guys. For the linebackers, 1, 2, 3. So we'd have at least the starters on roster. Corner is definitely thin. Safety's also really thin. There's a lot for us to do with only 35 eligible to bring in. Any last good players remaining on the line? Is a 3-star raw strength Ben Roebuck, a junior. Rated about 800. 400, pass protector, and Clinton Richard. Could be a better option at guard. 280, though. Another pass protector, but down the middle. Junior. Couple guys in the 300 for the offensive line or the defensive line. I know we were light there. I think we got to go after another big boy up front. That might be my bias showing through. Why do we have more hours now? I could have sworn we just had 45. Did we take a guy off the board that we were going after? Think so. No, because we have the 31 scholarships. I don't know. I'll take the more hours, though. 25 for you because you're a 5-star. Hey, you know what? We'll pay you the money. Come play. Well, 25 for you, too. We don't have the money for this, unfortunately. So we're going to have to be a little bit cheaper here. How about 75 for you? Because these other guys need some money. And frankly, we don't have it. Go 25 more there. No, actually, check that. Not 25. We'll go 15 for you. We'll give you 35. Now we're going to look to max out our total bits of offers here. Actually, no, check that. We need the 10 there. Maxing out our board here with a $30 offer. All right. We've used all of our NIL. Is this a mistake? Is it not a mistake? Again, that's if all these guys do actually decide to come and play here, which they may not. So I also don't know how it works in terms of the NIL offers if a player originally decides not to show up but then joins your team later. That's something we might need to keep an eye on. But that's as much as we could possibly do. 35 scholarships, 35 targets. We've used every last penny of our NIL. Let's see how this first round goes. I say we definitely got time for another round for sure. The next week we go. What's this team going to look like? San Jose State. I hit the microphone. Apologies, headphone users. Do get a Mike linebacker, 2-star. Left brand, some edge rush. Getting some guys for the offensive line, which is big. Do get Roderick Robinson. So now we got one good running back. We do get Brent Gordon Jr. We paid that man some money. Brian Townsend as well. Though he was free. But he was more of a late push for us. Do get Saldate, or however you pronounce his name. Gurley. We do get the other corner as well. We're going to be locked down. Jackson Dunn. Good seeing some help for the defense. Okoye. We get Mason Minnie. Do get the safety. That's great news. Dylan Breyer. Macho Stevenson. Some more help at corner. Do get Smith. We do get the quarterback, Jonathan Kraft. He wasn't initially liking us. It said that we didn't have the deal breaker, but we do still get him. A lot of other players potentially still maybe unknown. It didn't seem like 35. We did miss out on Isaiah Johnson and Riddle, but potentially. They might have just chose to walk on somewhere. And it looks like we did miss out on a couple other guys, a couple of these running backs. Again, potentially. If they didn't actually get the offers from these other schools, they may still join us late. So Kraft initially said no, but he actually said yes. We do get Robinson. No offer. We will get Colby Martin. He's just going to join in the spring. And we will also get Wilder. I believe we paid him a little bit less. We paid both of these running backs less than what they wanted, and they will still be joining. So that's the gamble you're going to have to take, right? If you're paying these guys less, they may just join you late. I believe that also means you don't get the off-season boost for them, the training boost. That's a lot of Spartan helmets. Porter will also be joining. We gave him that offer. He walked on to Clemson, but should be joining us late. Singleton, he just decided not to play football. This is something that does happen. Again, he was looking for 200. We offered him 75 because we just didn't have the money for it at the time, right? He chose not to play football. Ohio State does give the offer to Riddle, and Illinois does give the offer to the defensive tackle. So we might be a little bit light then at safety and DT. We may have to shuffle some guys around if we have that option too. But all in all, not too shabby. We paid, and we actually got most of the people. We underpaid, and those ones became a little bit more questionable. It still worked out about 50% of the time. So how much of that are you wanting to gamble? We finished with the 68th ranked class. We paid $847 or $875. UL Monroe paid the less. Wow, the least. Jesus, I need to learn how to speak. In terms of who paid the most, that was Ohio State, sitting around $5,000. So we are still paying. I mean, that's even less than 20% of the top end teams. So probably closer to around 17 odd percent of what these other guys are paying. And still, I think we brought in a really good class. Let's get to meet that class, though. Position changes. Double check the roster, see what we're looking like. 88, 86, both were transfers. 82, a transfer. 81, a transfer. Again, this is pre-training boosts or off-season boost. 80 for San Jose State. This is a stacked group, which is great news for us. Make sure we got some depth around here. Kraft is only a 67 overall. That's unfortunate. And we'll be getting a couple more running backs in. Receiver, we do have a lot of depth here. So we're looking pretty good there. We also should be getting in a few more players. Smith is sitting around a 75, but he is that impact dev. A lot of impact dev here for the receivers. That's great to see. Tight end, we do bring in Mini. It's a pretty light group here. Do we got a big boy receiver? No. You can maybe say Cooper Hawk or Hoach, but not sub 200. Pretty good looking offensive line. I don't think we really have to move anybody around. Defensive line wise, we got 4 at left, 3 at right. We do need to even that out with our best versus best. I think really bringing much in terms of a speed rusher. So Seth Franz, you'll go over to the other side. No, you'll go over to the other side. Give us 3 there, but at least we have a starter on every side. DTs, oh yeah, okay, we're looking fine then. So the seniors did count. Or we brought these guys actually in the portal. Check that. They're looking really good, really deep here. A lot of the seniors in total. Which means we're going to have to look to bring in some DTs in the portal. 1 Sam, 4 Mike, 4 Will. Although all these guys are thumpers. Lurkers play at Will. And thumpers, they play at Sam. Of course, most of our players are all thumpers, so doesn't necessarily split evenly very well. We'll take our strongest guy, move him over to Sam. And those who don't know, Sam, strong side linebacker, Will, weak side linebacker. Anyone with some massive strength? Not really. We'll remove Richie. Got to balance things out a little bit, make sure we have some actual depth. So again, I will say that this is a pretty successful off season here for us. In fact, we could look to move 1 more. And that's going to be you. Make it 3 across the board. That looks better. Corner, good depth here. 2 top end guys at the top. Obviously. Nacho Stevenson, another good option there too. And he was free. Chapman also free. Couple box specialists. Don't love that. We'll move Harper Johnston to free to be our roaming safety. And Watts, you can move over to strong because you don't have any speed. No, not Harper Johnston. Watts, the player who I am over it. Thank you, game. He's going to go actually up 3 overall. 3 off-season boosts. I don't think we ever got a punter. No, we didn't. So we don't have a punter on team. We could just pull someone from the soccer team, I guess. Trey Raymond, we might have to put you at tight end because we don't have the depth there. We'll do that. He's a small tight end. Cameron Oben, speed rusher, some more help here for the edge rush. Put you at right. That's where I like to store my speed rushers. Again, I think it's a very successful off season. And we did it paying a lot of money, and we still keep around about 500. Now, that could potentially go down if some of those late additions join. We're going to keep an eye on that as we jump forward here. Because if those guys come to play for free, that would be amazing. And a little bit of a glitch, I feel like. We got some dev boost, Woolen. Love to see it. Gordon Jr. He gets a dev boost. Already was, I think, the highest rated player on the team. Trading results in, and we are still sitting at 490. And Gordon is now tied for the highest rated. Jonathan Kraft, though, does get a good boost in the offseason and does become at least what seems to be starting caliber. Best awareness for Sim, at least that's great. So I would say still a pretty good battle between him and Robert McDaniel, I should read. Athleticism-wise, very similar, considering Kraft is a dual threat. Hard to say so. Still haven't gotten in the other running backs yet, so I would say that that's why our NIL hasn't gone down yet. Smith does jump up to play around there for that top 2 to 3 for the receiving group. Very fast here for us at receiver in the top 4. For the Mountain West, looking pretty good there. Offensive line gets even better. Great depth. Really good offensive line. Honestly, better than our UAB line. And that was a pretty good group for us in the offseason. A couple different starters, perhaps, here. They just don't have any speed. They're pure edge setters. And not a whole lot of speed at edge rush with this group, but a really good-looking defensive tackle group. May not rival what you had going there, Loco, but maybe down the line. Okoye, no improvement. That's a disappointment. We at least have a starting bunch. Cornerback room looks great. We're 4 deep. Got at least one starter caliber at safety. And no walk-on yet at punter. Remaining skill point. Yeah, I don't upgrade the players. The players upgrade themselves. So that way each player is unique and develops their own way rather than just a specific way I would prefer. And encouraged transfer still sitting at 490. And the other running backs have joined, so our budget does not go down. Martin is here playing for free. Wilder is playing for free. Where else was there a player that we were looking to bring in? Was there another receiver? Quincy Porter, right? He's also playing for free. So this is the hack, I guess. You pay less, hoping that they don't join you, but eventually do come play for you under a scholarship. But at that point, it appears it's a free scholarship. At least it hasn't upgraded here or updated here. That's pretty big. Now, we're going to take a quick break here for a moment. I will play an ad. We will be right back, and we're going to go through another off season and test that theory. If we pay less, can we still get them to join later? We'll join late, but for free? That could be massive for these small schools trying to build. Just borrowing players for a year or so as bridges while they actually develop their underlying depth. We'll be back to test that. Don't you go anywhere. Shouldn't be too long that we're gone. All right. Let's get back to test everything we just saw with yet another off season, right? Encourage transfers. I don't think we have to encourage anyone to leave, right? Looking good with the roster size. Looking great there. Actually, looks to be a pretty full roster. So again, we found a lot of good things here. We paid and we got rewarded by not having to pay for others. That seems absolutely massive for these small schools. Again, we're working with a similar budget to that of what we had or have with Sac State and UAB. I think that's around about a 1,300. New goals. Love to see it. Now, I will say, because we didn't cover this at the beginning, last season, I did do, and we will continue to do this right here. We are basically paying a little bit to get even more at the end, right? So we are paying $350 to get $500. So it's just a way to increase that a little bit more, and I think that's really big if you are one of these small schools. I think it's worth the investment. Right now, our staff is still overpaid, as we're sitting around 30% roughly, adjusted 15% for the portal program. Facilities, though, we're doing really well there. We are paying a little bit over, though, for the roster NIL this year. But again, we're focused on a lot of seniors, juniors, probably a little bit more with the seniors. So we should still be okay there. We have 565 unspent that we can then utilize for some high school stuff. But again, I think we're going to let the computer handle all of the high school stuff, or in fact, we may just try to skip out on most of it, honestly. I want to focus more so on the transfer side of things. So we're going to go ahead and skip that. Let's go to the settings. I will turn on some auto recruiting. We might just check in about midway through, remove some guys that we really don't want being added to the roster. Nope, go back actually. Let's take this to week 6, 7 actually. That'll be midway. And we'll just check in to see what's happening and see how the team does. We'll just check in a little bit. It's not the main purpose of this stream today. More so just testing out some theories. And now we got to test out even more how likely it is for us to get essentially free good players. Because we got a few of them. And which makes me think that potentially, I'll lock this chair in here. I feel like I was leaning back too far. I feel like we could have used that same theory to even get those corners potentially to play much cheaper than the 300 some odd we're paying one. I think the other was around 250 or so. The new blackberry lemon aqua fresca from Costco. Pretty good. As we're just straight up lounging back here, simming through the week. So I know it's a very enticing screen. If you guys are enjoying things here today, just joining in this testing, make sure to even leave it a little bit of a love. If you've learned something too, maybe you haven't noticed that hack there to get some free players. Jerry McClure, going to be the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Week. And we're sitting at 4-2. Honestly, I expected us to be a little bit better. With how many top-end players we brought in. Who did we lose to? Fresno State. Okay, Penn State was a 3-point ball game. And that potentially was a comeback for our number 10 team in the country. We're sitting at an 82. We jumped 10 overall in one offseason. Fresno State is undefeated. And we just couldn't mount a comeback there. That, I think, was a rivalry game, though. And those typically play a little bit different. Pretty easy-looking second half of the season. And wouldn't be surprised if this team goes and does something. Go with some 3 stars. Not as big of a fan of these 2 stars. See if I can help ourselves out a little bit by just taking off the 2 stars. Could potentially save us some money, too. Sorry, just kidding. I know we had some visits scheduled, but no, we're not interested. Keem Ogbu. Good name, though. Very interesting to see who they actually were targeting. Get a 1-star out of here. All right, there's some 3 stars on the board. I'm assuming we just started that pursuit, otherwise it doesn't look great for us. Going after a tight end, gritty possession. Playing style's not great. Well, then get off the board then. Josh De La Puente. Recruiting battle. We're currently losing that one to Cal. We do have a hard commit. 3-star receiver, Kasim Murphy. Elusive route runner. And they scouted him a little bit. Does he look good? Not fast, I'll tell you that much. All right, let's get to the end of the regular season. See if this team is making a push for the conference championship. And again, double check to make sure we're not trying to bring in any sort of 2 stars. No, I've never tested it. But I wonder if you could remove a player from your board who already committed. Like, let's say you were pushing for one guy because you weren't sure you could get the other, but then you do get that other one. And you maybe want to save some money. I wonder if that's something you could do. Still getting over a little bit of that down with the sickness. Especially after a full week. Well, this is day 6 straight of some college football action. We'll say that is making up for what's going to be a fairly light next about. Starting on Friday, I'm basically working 2.5 weeks straight. So it'll be light in there. Going to try to get some stuff pre-recorded. And there's a 2-star corner. Well, I guess we have a way to test. Can we remove him? Where are we sitting here? We are 10-2. We haven't lost a game since we last checked. Conference championship week. Locked out. Fine by me. Did get a hard commit from Jeff Bin, a contact-seeking running back. We're definitely losing the battle here for tight end. Hard commit from Jamerson Dooley, our rushing DT. Javon Dennis, backfield threat running back. Pull out of that battle. All right, 2-star corner. We're looking pretty good. We do have the verbal commit, but I don't want a 2-star. No, we can't. We can't remove him. No, don't star him. No 2 stars, please. I'm fine only having a few on the board and focusing on transfers. Rodney Dragos knocked us out. Aziz Inagbar locked us out. We can't land the fun names. Instead, we get Dingle. Definitely no 1 stars. Alan Singletary, BYU. Gabo. Ujabo, I never can remember precisely what that one's supposed to be. Fajardo. No thanks. So at least 8 on the board, similar to what we had. Get the desk there. Similar to what we had in that first off season. But it looks like we're playing for the conference championship against UTEP, surprisingly, who went 8-4, 6-2 in conference. We went undefeated in conference play, averaging 30 points a game, about 410 offensive yards, allowing just 21 points a game, sub 400. I mean, nothing crazy there, for at least the defensive yardage. And we're the number 19 team in the country. San Jose State. And we do get a hard commit from Dingle. Love it. Mountain West Defensive Player of the Week, Woolen. And Offensive Player of the Week in Mason Minnie, the tight end, goes off. The guy we recruited. And we won the Mountain West Championship. San Jose State. Just needed 1 year here with Coach Fotu. Are we going to the playoffs? We are going to the playoffs. Round 1, Texas Tech. At least barring any sort of chaos in this next week. Would have thought the Spartans. Man, I watched so many of their games, though, after the Pac-12 After Dark disappeared. Them and Sac State, I feel like I watched a lot of. That's a clean sweep of the AD expectations. Heisman ceremony. I like to skip through this a little bit. Maybe?
Greetings and welcome to a very special moment on the annual
Can we
sports
not
calendar.
skip through the ceremony?
Trophy ceremony.
Well, I guess in that
EA
case, let me
Sports.
pause
Inside
our
the
music because
Tiburon
there's
Theater,
other music
I'm Chris
going.
Fowler. So proud to bring you
Cameron
Heisman
Dixon,
Trophy night
Vanderbilt,
every year. So many
receiver,
memories come out
12
of this night.
touchdowns.
Each of these guys have hung out
There we go.
together,
Now
got to
there's
know
the
each other
skip.
better, but ultimately
I thought it was skip to who won. Bryce Underwood. Like, come on now. Rework that skipping. And indeed, we get Texas Tech Red Raiders round 1. Raiders' new logo is trash. It just looks so bland and high school. Like a high school that's ripping off an actual college logo or NFL logo. Achievement unlocked, the Lucky 12. That good news for us? Or just because we got spot 12 in the playoffs? Are we one and done, though? Mountain West Player of the Week. Offensive, Jonathan Kraft, 2 touchdowns, only 55% complete. Not promising. Single season record is broken, though. Jonathan Kraft in single season passing yards. And as well for single season passing touchdowns for San Jose State. So while it maybe wasn't the best of players we could have brought in at quarterback, still pretty good. And we won. We beat Texas Tech with a 55% complete, and now we've got Georgia, the Fiesta Bowl. If we make it to the Natty, we'll jump in a little bit. We've got to at that point. Let's see. Can we go 2 for 2? Yeah, 100% job security. Sony Fotu. Mountain West Player of the Week. Brent Gordon Jr. 1 pick, 6 tackles. And Offensive Player of the Week is Kraft. 0 touchdowns, 52%. It's not looking good there. But we do set another record, single season reception record. Goes to Jerry McClure. But that looks to be where our season comes to a close. Hey, I mean, that's much further than I thought it would. Hey, we gave him a good run, too. Barely beat Texas Tech 37-34, went into overtime. An OT game. Versus Georgia, though, defense collapsed in the fourth. Defense collapsed, but hey, I feel like we should have some extra money after that, right? Oh, didn't mean to click back into that. All right, we're getting back into action here, so let's get ready to rock and roll now. Get to end of season recap. We'll check on the stats, too. I'm just curious on what they ended up looking like. See what we're working with here. Ooh, down in miscellaneous. But overall went up. We're now sitting close to 4K. That means we got a lot more we could do in this offseason. These stats are as follows. Jonathan Kraft, very up and down season. Finished near 4,500 passing, sub 60% complete. And it's not a great ratio here. No, 1.7 touchdowns per interception. Would like to see a little bit better there. We'll see what options we have at quarterback. And Robinson did not start us. I guess Martin is actually better. So Robinson once again had to be dealt as the third back. We were just deep. 5.5 an average from Martin. He could and should be looking to stick around. Wilder looks like he might be looking to leave unless we decide to pay him more. 9 touchdowns, though, for him. Quincy Porter looks like he should be sticking around. A near 1,200-yard season for him. 15 touchdowns. Malachi Riley will be graduating. Graduating is also Jerry McClure, who led us with 92 receptions, 7 touchdowns. And he's graduating. So, I mean, we got some work to do for sure. We know that. Offensive line did all right. 115 tackles for the senior linebacker in Donovan Woolen. 103 for Hunter Noel, the safety. Both graduating. Rashad McKenzie graduating. The DT led us 15 TFLs. Shirley also graduating with 14. Leading sacker was Rashad McKenzie. 7.5. 7 for Westbrook, who looks to be sticking around. But it's going to have to be another rebuild here. 6 interceptions for Brent Gordon Jr. Playing style is not what we need. That's up to you, bud. It's up to you. 6 picks, though. I felt like we should have done pretty well there. Frederic is also going to be graduating. Woolen's graduating. Mahuka graduating. Might have to try to convince, because the playing style's not there, Matt Harper Johnston, but it was a pretty cheap deal to bring him in, so hopefully we could pay him well enough. Luis D. Imperio walks on from the soccer team, netted about 43, 42 yards a punt, 7 touchbacks, long of a 61, 26 landing inside the 20. I'll take that from a walk-on punter. All right, let's figure out this NIL. We've got more to work with, so we can look to try to keep these guys around. Starting from the top, looking good here at quarterback. We will have to pay our running backs. The original plan was to pay Martin. We got him to play 1 year for free. Now we have to overpay him to keep him around, which is unfortunate because, well, no, the playing time's good. See, that's something I wish that they would balance, right? If the deal breaker is good, why do I have to overpay their expectation to keep him? That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we have the money to work with here. Let's try to get him down to the green as cheaply as we can. You got to pay him an extra 100 more. So me, that means, you know, we try to find someone cheaper as the backup then. And Zeke Clay You're probably going to be heading out of here too. But we got to pay one guy only. We're paying the starter. We're not paying the backups. Quincy Porter, again, for him, deal breaker is fantastic. How much do we have to overpay him to keep him around? Because just paying what he expects just takes a little bit off the top. Now, excuse me, as we do test this, we could pay what the expectation is, seeing that the deal breaker is at a good spot, and see if it truly is that he's going to look to transfer. Even though, again, we're meeting his deal breaker. Could just be something we could test. Garvin, I'm not paying you 70. You're at the bottom of the roster, my guy. All these other guys want to play for free, so. Well, outside of Jordan Anderson, Impact, what did you do last year? Not much. We got other guys that could play. Clark, Saldate, whatever your name wants to be. We're going to try that 250 there because I want to test it. For Trey Raymond. Got some good speed. And again, I would expect to have to pay him more because his deal breaker is nowhere close to being met. And that would be having to pay him, again, nearly double, 90. I feel like we could probably find someone cheaper in the portal. Gilchrist, I wouldn't mind trying to keep you around a little bit. We'll pay you 10. You're going to play for free. I'm not paying you. You could leave. Brands, what'd you do last year? Nothing. We'll pay you 10 to keep you around. Cameron, Oben, you didn't play. Can you increase the areas for the deal breakers so you are not under the requirements? What do you mean by that? If someone has like a playing style, if you match what they are looking for, like let's say it's a running back and they're looking for like 150 plus rushing yards a game as a team, or I should say for the running back group. If you're running for 150 or more, that will go up. But as we've seen, even if you've got a deal breaker that isn't broken, sometimes if you don't pay them, they're not going to be as interested to stick around. We'll say, though, with Cameron Oben, we're going to get away with not having to pay this guy. Power rusher, freshman. You're a 65 overall, my dude. Normal dev. If you want to transfer, you could transfer. Would have to pay Gordon Sims a little bit to get him to stick around. Good strength. Not meeting that deal breaker either. But we would have to pay him 100 to stick around. Again, I think we could find someone cheaper. It worked out pretty well for us this last year. We're going to save some money there on Okoye. Richie, if you're not liking it here, you could leave. We'll pay the 5 here for Wilson. Now, this is where we would have to spend some big bucks if we want to keep around our top corner in Brent Gordon Jr. 6 interceptions last year, 5 passes deflected. How much would we have to pay? Yeah, we're not doing that. I will offer you your 410. You could take it or leave it. Chapman. We played a little bit last year. I wouldn't mind trying to keep around some cornerback depth here, especially if we are going to lose. Gordon. We'll offer the 150. Again, that's much cheaper. Obviously, it's a big difference in overall. But still. Impact dev here, Isaiah Buxton. I'll pay you 10. And you know what? Carrillo, I'll pay you 10 as well. Harper, definitely want to keep you around. I'll bump you up to 10. Want to keep the depth here too, so we'll pay the 5. So the big test here is basically Quincy Porter. It's showing risk of leaving maxed almost all the way up. But the deal breaker is fantastic for us. So if we just pay him what he's looking for and that expected, is it enough, or is he going to look to transfer away? That's what we're looking to find out here. Facility upgrades. You know, we didn't do this last year. Do we feel like we need to this year? It looks like we could. Excuse me. It looks like we could actually maybe lose and go down because the facility grade is looking rather low. We could spend the 450, I feel like. We haven't done this yet. Let's spend the 450. We'll go up to a premier facility. We're level 3. That'll help out our progression as well by 4%. Annual cost is 150. Now you could look to add in some equipment stuff too if you really want. This is going to reduce wear and tear, injury chances, health usage over the season, stuff like that. So if there are players that you have that you're worried about with that, good upgrades, but that's not our focus in this one. That does, however, move our facilities about 10% over budget, even with our increased budget this next season. Yep, reviewed. All right, one more off season we'll jump through today. Again, also looking to find out about Quincy Porter. 1-star verbal commit. How about no? So I wish when you did auto, if you just put guys on the board, let them handle the guys you put on the board. I guess it would make sense if you're simming through, you might not put someone on there. So Quincy Porter is indeed on the board here. We will obviously be trying to persuade it's very low, and we do fail there. Gordon also extremely low, and we failed there. We could look to keep around the free safety in Pierce Walker. Might as well offer. That one's a success. And no chance for Wilder. So another extremely low that is failed. So seems like even if you are looking really good with your deal breaker, that doesn't matter. Money at the end of the day is king to these players. So Quincy Porter is looking to leave to capitalize off of that. We'll keep an eye, though, to see if we can bring him back in the transfer portal. We will have just around 900 to deal with. Draft results by chance? Anybody? Yeah, we do get a couple. Quincy Porter went to the league. Never mind trying to bring him back then. So it was either pay the man or he's going. And we didn't pay him enough of what would have covered a 5th round selection, I guess. Frederica also ends up going, so that might help us out a bit in the window. And we actually have 1,300 to work with. Jabo locked us out, or Ojabo, fine by me. All right, high school guys, appreciate you being around here, but you're gone. Contact seeking running back, though. How many running backs do we need? Do need a few, so we might actually keep him on there if we're going to lock him in. But that is an expensive running back that's not going to play. Sorry about that. 170 to sit on the bench. No, thank you. Really would like to remove him from the board. I don't want to spend 10. Are you kidding me? We gave that guy 10 NIL. He's a 1-star guard. You should be able to remove a guy even if you have him verbally committed. I'd rather eat the 5 than eat the 10 than give him 10. But we're actually now sitting north of 1,600 to work with. Would be sitting at exactly 1,650 if not for Giles. What did we bring in here? We got receiver, running back, DT, another running back, Dingle, and Giles. All right, then. 600 hours. We've got a lot of spots opened up. Let's look to, once again, and see if we can hit some high-end guys who just didn't have any offers while paying them essentially nothing, because we're trying to get them to join us late, right? Mixed play from the quarterback this season. What are we looking at? Who's interested? Who's not? 4-star Carlos Trinidad, backfield creator. The righty. We're looking at prospects right now. Never mind that. All right. What we're looking at here actually is Chris Denson as the top option open. Anyone interested? There is a seventh interest. Would be a freshman. Not exactly what we're looking for to potentially take over that starting spot. PJ Latif would be a junior pure runner. Played decently well. Actually played better than our quarterback last year. Mason Atkins, pocket passer, didn't play. Applewhite, another guy who didn't play. Gasperson didn't play. Anyone play last year? A little bit here. Willow doesn't look great. Doricio? Maybe. Didn't play great. Julian Duggar didn't play great. So, yeah, I mean, nothing looking fantastic here. Kraft could look to get better. So if we're going to go after a quarterback, I feel like it should be someone high up on the board. Benson didn't really play much. Picklin didn't play. Julian Lewis would be a junior from Colorado. Pocket passer. He played very well. Wouldn't mind tossing him on the board and seeing if we can make something happen. What was the deal at running back? Did we end up keeping around Martin? I believe we did. I feel like Robinson is graduating. So that's just Martin and Clay. So we don't need to pay anything big here at running back. We have the starter. Anyone with interest? Wouldn't mind a 2-star senior. Amari Brundage, another guy from UAB. We just make it back-to-back years. Not sure how much he would have developed in this series, though. Nate Palmer played a little bit. Kai Nelson. This is more so what I'm looking for. Just a number 2. Already has some interest. Doesn't want any sort of NIL. I'm all over that. Now, if you could give me like a 4-star freshman, I'd be good with that too. There is a 4-star freshman, backfield threat, Miguel Woollyhand. A heck of a name for sure. About 3 stars. That is expensive for a guy who's probably not going to play. Here's an interesting guy. Be a junior. He's a big boy, but East-West playmaker with that size could be intriguing. We do need to find ourselves a replacement #1 receiver. We got lucky last time. A couple guys from Clemson on the board here. Would be a junior 4-star. Look to pay. And that would still be cheaper than what I think we were going to pay to keep around Quincy Porter, I believe his name was. Now I'd like to find a little bit more of a mid-tier option at #2. Gadget. Normally not my favorite for most offenses. A couple guys who do have some interest, a couple seniors. I'd take Jamian Little here. And then give me like a 2-star senior for cheap. Looks like the best option is going to be Stonka Burnside. Great name. Tight end. Again, I wouldn't mind a 2-star senior here. I don't need anything crazy. Cade Keith did play a little bit last year. Good size, vertical threat, matches what we're looking for. Again, I'm perfectly fine keeping with some seniors at the line. Van Hoy. I am interested in this guy. 962 downs, 2 sacks given up. Already has interest in us too, which is great. Didn't get to play that much last year, Will Nolan, but he is interested on the cheaper side as well. That guy gave up a little bit more sackage, so we'll go with Nolan. There's a guard who has interest, a senior, didn't give up a sack, raw strength at 6'5", 360 pounds. I love it. Do need to rebuild essentially the front 7 with the defense, so that seems to be the big focus here for us. Would also like to find some better edge rush talent for sure. Anyone who has interest? There are some 3-stars. 3-star sophomore, pure power. Speed rusher, didn't get a sack last year. Didn't seem to really play. Senior here, Alexander McGowan. Pure power. Could play a little bit of a 3-tech. Have some interest there. Speed rusher, again, didn't really play. 5 sacks here, speed rusher Sean Ward as a freshman. I have some interest. I think that's maybe more than I need. For the line, at least. All right. Big boy time. What are we looking at? 6 sacks here, Elijah Golden. Put him on the board. Looking at a sub 200 deal right there. Go down to a 3-star here. Interest, Floyd Bouchard. 5 sacks last year, a pure power type. Save us a little bit of our money, perhaps. 2-star senior. Anyone sticking out here? 8 sacks. Bernisi Ogbebor. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. Apologies, any Ogbebors around. I'll put him on the board. Do have room for one more. I wouldn't mind a higher rated younger player, or higher star younger player. Junior. Could be a freshman or sophomore, perhaps. A couple of these guys. I think this is the one I'm looking for, though. Jameson Weil. Definitely need some linebackers. Sophomore thumper, a few tackles for him. 83 tackles for Tyshawn Willis. Great name for a linebacker. No playing time for these other guys. About $150 to pay him. What about some 3 stars? With some interest. You have a lurker here, 1 sack, no pass deflections or interceptions. Would be a junior 3-star. Interesting. 4 fumbles, I'm assuming forced, and Joel Boss. He's a thumper. 3-star. Would be a sophomore, as it looks like he played. Intriguing enough. 2 interceptions for the lurker and Bodie Cahoon. Would be a junior. Got 2 more spots at outside. Again, I wouldn't mind a senior. A little bit more some proven talent here. Mason Posa does seem interesting as that thumper tight. A lot of thumpers. 5 pass deflections for Cyrus Polu. Not a whole lot of guys forcing some sacks or interceptions, I can tell you that much. Mana Tuioti. Again, try my best with some of these names. Does have a sack in there, a couple forced fumbles. Would be a senior. We'll take that. Now we're looking for at least some signal callers around here. Are there any 5 stars? There are, but they're not interested. More thumpers. Lurker here with 4 interceptions. Glad you did my board. Where are you, a senior? No, we'll be a sophomore. 5 sacks here, senior. Seems interesting. Room for 1 more. Still haven't found a signal caller. We'll add the Deshaun Lee, lurker, sophomore with 2 picks last year. Cornerback. We got 5 more spots here. Top cornerback on the board has not locked us out. Got to pay him some money, but I wouldn't mind maybe trying to get something going early. Any 4 stars with some interest? No. All right, then. Hurt my feelings is fine. All right. Looking for a 3-star to 2-star senior. Nehemiah Chandler, Florida State, a $125 here, 2 picks last year. 4 picks though for a $125 for Rashawn Clark, another senior. Pretty good size out of Seattle, Washington. Only went to UW. He stayed close. Now can we get him to go to Cali? Going back to Cali. No 4 stars with interest here. 2 picks, 2 picks. What are we looking at here? Box specialist, coverage specialist makes it pretty easy for me. Chauncey Childress. Hybrid, 1 pick, 2 pick, no pick. Go with a hybrid, Trey Bell III. That is our board completely full up. So once again, I took down my calculator. What am I doing? We've got a total of that. It's 600 points, 29 players for the opening week. Everyone could have 20 points. It's just not possible, which is unfortunate. So 25 points for some important positions. Areas that I think we really need some help at. And then we'll figure out a way to spread out the rest of the points as best as we can. We lost some DB help, so let's look to bring in some DB help. We have 1 safety sticking around from last year who I trust. The rest, do need some help at the linebacker spot. Kinley here is ranked 422nd. That's a weird way of saying that. 207 here. Excuse me. Lyle, 190. You get the 25 for sure. $285 for Bouchard. Golden is sitting at number 53. I think we go even a bit more aggressive on this one. We go with 35. The way I'm kind of going about this is everyone who has a ranking inside the top 1,000 is going to get the 25, and then we'll spread out the rest of the points. Making sure everyone should have at least 10. Number 20. This is going to be another 35er. All right, so that is basically 18 players can get 10 points. Again, this is the introduction week to these players. Just a good, hey, how you doing? We would love to have you come play down here in California. What is your interest? Yay or nay? And then hard decisions start next week. And if we got extra points, we might focus these on the linebacker and defensive line group. Defensive tackle a little bit more specifically, since we had so much turnover there. And again, we'll save the offers either when everyone is sitting inside that top 5 or that final week. Again, we're going to try to lowball a little bit more and see if we could still land some of these guys and, in fact, land them for 0. Could be fun. Again, it's a test. I know that's what kind of burnt us in the UAB. We missed out on a lot of defensive help in that offseason. 20 more points to divvy up, or hours, I should say. Spread these out amongst the offensive line. So it seems like it's just going to be the tight ends, receivers, and running backs not getting that extra. But again, introduction week. We'll see how many of these guys stick on the board. Let's see if my baseball team can lose another game today. And we get a hard commit. It's the 1-star Giles. The good news is we didn't see anyone immediately lock us out. So that's already a big difference from the first off season to this one. All right. Good competition here for the Sam linebacker and Christian Thatcher. Mistakes were made. Mistakes were made, boys. Forgot to turn off the auto recruiting. So that probably very much messed with our board. Gotta love that. I would hope that it would at least keep everything we did in that first week. And then we just have to figure things out. Because I'm like, why do we got a linebacker here at the top? We at least have a full board. What are we looking like position by position? So there is a quarterback here, Carter Jones. I'm unsure if this was the quarterback we were going after. No running backs on our board right now. Do have a receiver, but that wasn't the top receiver we were going after. A junior gadget, though, I think could be okay. I don't feel like we need to be going after 2 tight ends. No, we don't. So who stays, who goes? DJ Asiasi. I'm going to remove you. Two-star freshman, no thank you. Three-star freshman, a little bit more intriguing. We are looking good for a lot of these guys. How do we have 20 points? Oh, that's the NIL. Still gets me every now and then. 4 different guards. Get this 1-star. Just kidding. Can't. Forgot about Giles. Couple juniors. I just don't feel like they're actually going to be that good. We're going to remove these bottom 2. I know we're in the lead there, but they're ranked very low. I don't believe we even needed any centers. Thank you very much. Of course, offers have already been given to. Wasn't over that. Yeah, don't make that mistake. Turn off auto recruiting, that's for sure. Do need some speed rushers. These guys are all ranked very well. I'm happy with that. 2-star freshman you could get out. 3-star freshman, more intriguing. Lurker, signal caller, lurker, thumper. Freshman 2-star, no thank you. Signal caller is on the edge here. He's a freshman 3-star. We're in the front for now. Hard to pull off that. Was definitely looking at some better corners. Both these guys, though, are at least inside the top 1,000. Two-star senior, keep him on. So yeah, that's a little bit disappointing. We do have some prospects spots open, some target spots open. Now we could also help ourselves out by just checking the interest here. I feel like we were looking at a 3-star quarterback. I just don't remember the name of that quarterback. If you guys do, feel free to let me know. I feel like we were just looking at the overall top ranking. I don't think we were looking at Dennison. Rhymes doesn't look familiar. Yeah, these quarterback names don't sound familiar. So I definitely don't remember what quarterback I was looking at. It wasn't TJ Lateef, right? Another quarterback is not a big need. We've got one on the roster, or on the board. No running backs, though, on the board. We had several different running backs on our board. No one in the top 10 that I feel like we were actually going after or interested in us inside the top 10. Jeremy Payne actually ran pretty well, though, last year. About $140 for him. Yeah, we're not looking for that starter, so I do feel like we were looking at 3 and 2 stars. Might have been a 4-star if he was a young guy. Bully hand. I mean, he would be young. Backfield threat. No, one of the running backs was like 6'1", 240. Remember that at least. Who's this guy? Julian McMahon? 6'1", 240 East-West playmaker. Yeah, I know I was looking at him. Few receivers as well. I know we were looking at one of these top receivers. Julian Jenkins, be a junior. One offer in on him. SMU. Anyone have interest? So no. So I don't think it actually did keep what we were looking at. And what we had set up in that first week, which is really annoying. But that's my fault. Should have turned that off. Four stars, no offer. PT win. Gadget receiver was a freshman last year, but did actually play pretty well. Looking at a $180. Again, looking to step down that price tag. Damian Little. Gadget. Decent size there. Played well. Would be a junior. Already has interest. What about a 2-star senior? Stonka. That was the guy we were looking at. Remember, because of his name. His first name, at least. Didn't remember that. Couple no offers here at tight end. We did have one guy that we were making some headway with. I think we might be all right with that. At least initially. Plenty of offensive linemen, but if there is someone better, wouldn't be against it. One offer on the table here, but not showing up. Will Black. Didn't have a great season. Be a junior. Put him on the board, though. Got offers there at the 4. No offer here for a center. Again, it's not a big need for us. Won't be against it, though. Edge, we've got plenty of talent. Though there is a guy just, oh, he's pure power. Speed rusher and Samu Moala. 4-star sophomore, maybe freshman. That is our board, though, completely full. So Sam here. We're not in front. We are close, though. We'll upgrade him to 25. We actually have some pretty good pitches for him, too, when we get inside that top 5. Looking good there. We really upgraded all of our pitches this year after taking it to the postseason. Good battle here for Mary Smith. Pretty good pitches, too. Close to that top 25. Good battle here. We are just on top. Really good pitches. Go 25, see if we push that inside the top 10 next time. Good jump here. Fresno State. We're going to be ready. We're going to give him that boost to 25, too. Now, this one's hard to tell because we made the jump unsure where we are at with both of these guys. But we got the hours. Might as well take advantage of it. We don't have terrific pitches, but we might have enough there for a decent soft sell. In fact, we could soft sell for both these guys already. Looking for. I'm so used to scrolling through to find it, but they did add the convenient check marks at the bottom just to make things easier for you. If you didn't notice that, another little tip for you. And we saw a good jump here, but still unsure. We don't have the greatest pitches. Let's bump him to 25. A lot of competition here for Presley. Pretty good pitches, not inside the top 5 there yet. Again, all offers have already been offered. So if we really want to test out the underpaying, that's something we're going to have to edit. We'll save that, though, for the week 5. Or week 4, I should say. No week 5. Let's upgrade this to 25 as well. Excuse me, to 25, please. Not great pitches there. Prefer at least 2 Bs to do a harder soft sell. That one will actually be really good. And be in there. Definitely going to need a little bit more here. We still have a good chunk of time in terms of hours. To get into these battles, we're going to need to offer up some bigger paydays here. Good news, it did seem like most of the offers that were given out were pretty cheap. That's not what I wanted to put on there. But most of what we're going to be testing, I think, will be for those that final week editions. So with the success we're seeing with a lot of these 3 stars, we may have to force some spots open because we are well in line to pick up most of these players. We are running a little bit low here, though. Burnside, you are over the 1,000 mark, so I'm going to cut some spending there. Little, I'm going to have to cut a little from you, too. Unintended. At least give us 25 on each. Boswell, since you're rated so high, we'll give you the 5. All right, and we turned off the auto recruiting, so as we go into the next week, it'll stay as we put it. Still think we're sitting at a really good spot for a lot of these guys. We'll find out in week 3. Oh, good. Baseball team already losing. All right. Week 3. 2 more weeks to go with this testing. Again, we're going to look to lowball some of these guys. Really test out if we could get these guys in for free. I'm just going to take a quick scroll to that one. Is still tight, but we are in front. Trying to see if any of these guys they added or some more expensive guys, or if they're all pretty cheap, and they all seem to be pretty cheap. Some of these races definitely closer. We are behind here on Rochelle. We don't have the extra points right now to send them his way. And I don't know if we're going to have enough time to catch up. So let's save those points. We'll spend them elsewhere. We could look to catch up here with Canada. Still looking to make up some room here. Carter Jones. I feel like we may pull this and we'll look for a last-minute quarterback push. Safety Presley. Also a big push coming in here. San Diego State. He's a freshman 3-star. I'd be fine pulling off there. And these are the tough decision times. Right edge Marshall, not looking promising. We trail a good chunk here. So we're going to pull that one as well. Good competition for Cunningham. And now looks like we need to utilize some of these points down here. Woolly Hand. Didn't really make the jump we were looking for there. I'm going to pull off of that one. Looking good here, though, for McMahon. No influence on TT Win. If we ever get inside the top 5, we at least have good pitches. Did I remove 10 and just add on 10? I'm unsure on that one. Looks like we're out here on Boswell and probably out here too. So we got a couple spots open, some hours to work with. Feel like though for these guys who we are not making the progress with, let's up them to the 50. Can you stay at the bottom? That'd be nice. Good there, looking good there. TT Win, we'll move him up to 50. Yeah, we just got to be at the top and have that offer in. Wouldn't mind upping the ante on some of these guys here. We are inside the top 5, so let's update him to a soft sell. Or actually, let's go hard sell. That should have us looking pretty good there. Looking for the ones that we're in competition with. We should be able to overcome that. We do have the points for it. Conference Legend. Let's switch that over to a hard sell. Wouldn't mind dropping an extra 5 here. Same for Lacey. And Smith. Hawaii is making a move up. We are inside. Good spot to do a soft sell. Really good pitch for us. Utah's making that push. Not a great sell, so we'll just go 25. Height race for Thatcher. And a great set of pitches for us. In fact, we'll even toss on the extra there at the end, too. All right, so still at 25. That leaves us 85 hours. Couple more targets open. Haven't found a quarterback yet that we really like, so let's check out what's available. No offers still for Ficklin. Pure runner, though. Didn't play last year. Ryan Hopkins also didn't play, a pure runner. Grant Lawless didn't play. It's a decent look here for Mason Heinschel. Pocket passer, would be a senior. We were looking at the quarterback from Oregon, weren't we? I don't think it was Akili Smith. Decent look, though. Or was that from the first off season? All right, we're looking at 4 stars, no offers. Would like someone who played. Theirs may not be choosers, though. All right, so it's Smith or Heinschel. Both are pocket passers. Very similar. Rushing attempts 103 for 28. A little bit more running success here for Heinschel. We'll add him. And would like to find one more big-time player for us. It all depends on what's available. 3-star linebacker J.D. McKinley, freshman. Charlie Christopher, one offer from Pitt. Seems semi-interested. The top-end corners just sitting. Highest is a 3-star. Couple interceptions there. Not too pricey. Does have interest. Wouldn't mind it. Add these 2 on. We'll go to our final week, and we will look to make our final bits of tough decisions. 20 or 50 for the quarterback. We'll go 35 here for the corner. All right, week 3 of 4. To the final week we go, and once again, we're going to try to maybe lowball a little bit here, see if we could get these guys to still join, either cheaper or free. And baseball team is now leading. It's just so up and down all the time. What a season. What a season. All right, week 4 of 4. How are we looking? Really wish we could get rid of Giles. Thatcher. We go down, but I don't know about you guys. It kind of looks like we're in the top there. What we could look to do, we're going to try this. See if we could flip things here. We're going to up that. Why can't I up it? Can I pull the scholarship? No. Why can't you increase a scholarship? Make that make sense. Would I need 5 points to... No. I don't know. That one's weird. So we'll have a decision to make about Thatcher. Excuse me. Pressure building from Utah. Freshman defensive tackle. Good there. There is a visit for Hawaii here. Would that be enough to overcome? I'm not too sure it will. We're looking good there for Smith. Height race here for Ben Lacey. That was a big step up by Maryland. But again, they may have just given the offer. Yeah, it just doesn't let you raise it, which is weird. Looking good there. Looking good there. There. Like that there's at least a little bit more competition, but I still feel comfortable in a lot of these races. Colorado makes a big jump with a freshman 3-star. Cunningham, we're looking good there. Good jump up here for McMahon, but now we got to actually give these offers. Again, we're looking to lowball a little bit. This is testing, right? Before we do that, no one has offered? No. I'm not trying to be like too rude, but you know, we're going to offer underneath. We overspent perhaps a little bit last year. They're trying to reel us back in. We'll go like 150 here. Expectation was 180. Again, we're just testing. Do need to pull off some points though here. You want 85? How about 55? We're pinching pennies to try. Again, we're trying to force them to say no initially, but not have an offer from anyone else, and then we get them for free. Except for you. You want no money? Come play. Now, there is an offer in here for Will Black, so we would have to pay him entirely. We have the money to do so, so I think we will do so. And Carrie, I'm going to need to take some points from you to do so. In fact, now overpaying's not going to help us right now. Keep you at the net 205, a big money for a lineman. Quarterback, you want the 200? Get no offers, though, for him, right? Not showing any, at least. We're not pressed because we do still have our starter from the previous year, right? So let's take this down to 150. See if we could get him to come play for free. Get no offers in here. We'll give you like a 25. So we still have a few spots open. And we're looking to find some free players to bring in. Phone really going off here. And we add on a little bit more pointage. Love that. A little bit more runs. All right. Who is available at the top? No offers on the board. Well, there is a 4-star who just doesn't want to come here. Another 4-star, Madden Williams. I think I was still thinking of the previous guy. Here's a 0, 4-star. Quarterback, pure runner, Ryan Hopkins. Could try our hand at a couple quarterbacks. Another guy here is a third quarterback. I think we're going to quarterbacks. Receiver, Sean Terry, 4-star. Got here another receiver, Arnell Warren. I feel like we're pretty good at receiver. Free safety, Jaden Blair, box specialist. Not my favorite archetype. You're a 6'5", 210 as safety? Okay, don't mind if I do. Pocket passer. Receiver. You have 2 more spots open. What do we got going here? Receiver, quarterback, quarterback, quarterback. Center. One last spot, and we are into the 3 stars. Well, into that case, should we just try to bring in another receiver then? Help ourselves out here. Receivers from the top. Looking at Sean Terry. 4-star. Maybe sophomore or a junior. We're going to go with the junior. Bonpeng Miller. Definitely did not pronounce that name very well. We're going to need at least 25 points to offer these guys. I know there's pressure coming in there from Utah, but we did just give that offer. So we're going to find the 25 points we need right here. And again, we're trying to underpay these guys to test it out. You're looking at about 210. How about 105? John Terry, you're looking at 160. How about 80? Giving these guys about half of what they're looking for. Still paying. We're not giving the $5 deals, but we're not paying anywhere close to what they're looking for. We'll give you 75. And if you choose to just not play football, you choose not to play football. That's your own prerogative. Go 75 again here. Isaiah Boggs. Looks like I miscounted, and someone's going to get 5 more points. 80 for you, Bong Peng Miller. And we'll give back some points here to Will Black. All right. Final test here today. We are underpaying, hoping that they will join late, and we don't have to pay them. That's the test we're doing here. We're still offering them money to entice them to, make a decision, but not underpaying enough to where they just choose not to play football, but enough to make a decision and hope that they walk on elsewhere and then decide, you know what, I got a scholarship here, come here, and then we don't have to pay them. That's the test. Because that is a great thing to try to take advantage of in a week 4 situation. You got some extra slots. We still have money on our board. Again, that was intended. The opposite of season 1, where we spent all of our NIL. Do bring in defensive tackle. Bonzie Smith, that's a great name. You get Stallworth. Get Smith. Get Lacey. Arden. And Canada. Johnson. Cunningham. Burnside. Will Black, we do get. Tuatele. Benatias? Benatus? Benatus. I don't know. I don't know what I said the first time. I just kind of threw that out there. Darden. Do get Cotton. Gendro Clark. Perhaps. Sean Ward. DT Win is in. Jackson Moore. There obviously are some guys at the top there, not with our logo. Some guys at the bottom too. So did the test work? Did the purposeful underpayment work to get these guys to join late for free? We do not get Thatcher. He does choose San Jose State. We will, however, get Julian McMahon for free, as we saw last time. He came in, the previous transfers who came in late did not come in with any NIL on roster, but we gave him an offer. Wisconsin did not. Same with Jamian Little. He walks on to Mississippi State, should be joining us late for free. We should also be getting Mason Heinschel, because he walked on to Tennessee. We gave him that offer, so we should get him for free. Darrell Carey, we will not be getting. We will not be getting Ryan Hopkins either. And Sean Terry just chooses not to play football. So we about halved his deal. We gave him 80. I wonder if we gave him about 90 or around 100, if that would have got him to walk on somewhere, but still ultimately come play for us. We'll not be getting Jaden Blair. Not getting Boggs, and Miller decided not to show up. So these guys at the end that we decided to pay less, we actually don't get any of them. So perhaps 50% is not what we're looking for. Might be closer to about 75%. And then we get them to still join. But we still get a number of guys joining late. Before we leave there, we had 68th or so, 67. for our class last year. We're up to 43 this year, and we paid less in NIL, and we still have more guys joining. So I think we did learn a thing or two in this one. You know, we can underpay, but we can't underpay dramatically for these players. Otherwise, they will just straight up decide that they're just not playing. And that's good news, because that's what we tried with the UAB series last time, and it didn't go as well for us. But we'll jump through this real quick. I want to see how these players progress. At least have some depth there. Still have a lot of depth at running or at receiver. Fortunately, we're paying some guys down here I don't like. Raymond did end up sticking around after we chose not to pay him. I do like that. Very much still have a starting offensive line. Got to shift some of these guys around. Brands, you could go back over to left. We have a true speed rusher now. Got 5, 4. Looks good to me. DTs are a little thin. Got any big boys around here we could slide in? Well, Ward, you're a big boy, but I want to keep you on the outside. Randall, speed rusher. You don't really have the speed for it. How about you slide in? Give us some depth there. Now we got 4 and 4. I like that. That looks better. 2. Yeah, decent spread. Nothing crazy with the corners. I don't feel like we really brought in a corner. We didn't bring in a kicker either, so we're going to have another walk-on for the soccer team. All right, we'll get through the rest of this off-season. I want to see the off-season training and the actual full roster with guys joining late. No 90s, but we do still have some 88 overalls. Overall, not too bad of a looking group here. Again, for Mountain West, I mean, we're still dominating. We'll move on to the cut screen, because that's where we see everybody. All right. Now we're still under roster size, which is nice. All right, so this is what we've got coming into the last year. And indeed, we do get Mason Heinschel in here, so we got ourselves a big upgrade at quarterback. A pocket passer, but with 84 speed, 89 acceleration. Sorry there, Kraft, but we upgraded. And we got some physical attributes there. Running back, McMahon, he comes in looking really good with our running backs. That feels a lot better. Still paying Kobe Martin a good chunk of money, but not having to pay the guys underneath him because, again, McMahon, free. NIL. Heinschel, free. Receivers, any new additions? Jamie and Little. He's free. So we decided not to pay Porter. He went and got drafted, which helps us technically in terms of recruiting. And we end up only having to spend $150 for our entire starting 4 receivers. 5, really. That's phenomenal work. So there's some sneaky ways you could try to go about this. We got 2 tight ends who could play for, again, a combined position group of 15 NIL. Will Black, great looking tackle. Very much looks to be worth the 205. He's going to be that blind side guy. You're paying 20 for your left guards, and you're too deep there. You're paying 0 for your center, and again, we are too deep there. Paying 0 for right guard. So for our entire offensive line, we are spending 245 NIL. And we have ourselves a pretty good-looking offensive line, especially for our level of competition. 10 here at left. A little bit more. Unfortunately, we're paying the worst player the most at DT spot. Now, Sean Ward, maybe we're paying a little bit more than we would like there, but still really cheap for the defensive line. The linebackers, 20, 35 in total. Now, it is a weaker group. You don't really have that star power anywhere. But I would give them a solid rating. Decent athleticism. Cornerback room, definitely lighter than last year. You know, we save some money. We pay Chapman to make sure we still have that starter. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good way of trying to build a small program. Essentially, you wait for that week 4 and you look to pay guys about 75% of their NIL. That should get them interested enough to choose to go somewhere. It doesn't have to be your school out the gate. In fact, it's better if they walk on somewhere and then still join your team late because you were the only team to offer that scholarship. But at that point, they're playing for free. You're paying nothing. And you could bring in some really big talent for a year or two, especially if you're focusing on those juniors or sophomore transfers. So keep that in mind. Try it out yourself. Let me know how it works for you. You can come back to this video, leave it in the comments. You can send a message on the community tab on the YouTube page as well. So that is where we are going to look to close things off for today. I know I definitely feel a little bit more like I've got a game plan then for our next off season. I thought I had one with that UAB based off the first Sac State, but I think we got a little bit too frivolous with the $5 deals. We should have paid a little bit more. And ultimately, we know we've got more money to work with. I was thinking that if I used all that money, then we wouldn't have anything for the next year, or if during the season we spent all of our money recruiting high school people, we wouldn't have anything for the transfer portal. But that's not the case. So now we know, and we're going to use that to our advantage in the UAB series and the Sac State series. Make sure you stay tuned if you are new here or you just simply haven't done it yet. For free for you too. Again, we're trying to be cheap here, right? Go ahead and hit that bell icon in the bottom right corner of your screen. That way you subscribe. And if you combine that down below with that bell icon, you'll be notified of when I post anything, whether it's a video, we go live for a stream, or if I post something on the community tab. It's a great way of just sticking tuned. And if you enjoyed today, you learned a little something and a little trick or two to keep your budget down, or at least min-max your budget, make sure you do leave the video a big old thumbs up, whether you're watching live or you're watching after. Hope you guys have a great rest of your, what I believe is Saturday today. I don't know days anymore. It'll blend. We will be back on Monday. It'll probably be a later day posting as we have a double header rivalry games with UAB. It's been a fun start to that season. It's going to start to get a little bit weird over the next couple weeks, so just make sure you are staying tuned. Again, if you hit that sub button and you hit that bell icon, you'll be right there for when everything begins. I'll try my best to make sure you guys are up to date on when we're going live, if we're not going live on the more typical days and all that. I'm very much going to focus, though, on getting those UAB series uploaded every single Monday and Friday with the streams sprinkled in where we can throughout the week. So make sure you guys are staying tuned for that. I appreciate you being here today and that you learned something. Go have a great rest of your Saturday, and we will see you back here on Monday.